Welcome to the Missionary Disciple Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about team health. And I have with me today Eloisa Greenwald, special guest, and Michael Hall. So this idea came up in our brainstorming about doing something on team health. And I'm going to throw it over to you, Eloisa. Why, and I think you're the one that presented the idea, why do you think team health is something we could talk about here on this podcast?
Yeah, and just talking about ministry is often done in a team setting. Even if you are just like a sole missionary doing your own evangelistic work, what you want to do is multiply into people. And so you'll often be working with people and be creating a team in a way. So team health is really important to make sure that everyone is on the same vision and on the same page when it comes to ministry, because tons of different ideas can come about. How we go after one measure, one result that we're chasing down, that's where team health really comes to play, to make sure that we're all chasing after one dream.
So, Michael, can you tell us more about what team health is, maybe in broad strokes?
Yeah, I mean, you want your group of people that you're working with. We need to be in sync with each other. We need to be able to move forward together, saying towards a common vision and knowing we're trying to get somewhere. But we can do that just kind of connected to each other, like checking in, but really acting as individuals, or we can do it as a team.
Right.
And we can really be trying to move together towards one goal, together towards one vision, embracing the whole ministry that we're doing together as a group. And so to do that well, your team needs to be healthy, and your team needs to not just tolerate each other, but actually needs to be invested in each other, invested in the common success that you're trying to, the common wins that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
What can a healthy team accomplish that an unhealthy team can't pull off?
Good question. So one thing I think about also that teamwork does accomplish is a sense of fulfillment, right? If you're doing your own thing and your teammate is doing their own thing, there's not necessarily a fulfillment that comes along with your ministry or your mission. So I would say that, yeah, like on an individual note, that it also gives individual missionaries a purpose, knowing that they're part of a greater vision.
So it pulls a bigger feel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it pulls a bigger feel.
I think it also can bring longevity.
Yeah.
That when you have healthy teams, people they don't burn out as easy.
Yeah.
Because you support each other, you share the load. It's part of what makes being in ministry for the long haul possible. If you're constantly in an environment where you don't enjoy going to your ministry contact, you don't enjoy going to work, you don't enjoy the volunteer group you're with, if you merely tolerate the people, and you're kind of doing this ministry in spite of the people you're around, instead of feeling this this camaraderie, this unity, that we're in this together, that I know you've got my back if I'm having a really rough time, or if I fail, that you're going to be there to help pick me up, and that I would do the same for you, and that in the joys we're going to celebrate those together. Then it makes going to work, going to ministry a lot easier.
Boy, that's a good litmus test. Hey, like, do I like going to work with this team or not?
Yeah.
And then what is it like doing it with a team I like, and what's it like doing it with a team I don't like?
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good, like, I'm going to flip the conversation over to this. There's a great book that Pat Lencioni wrote called The 5 Dysfunctions of Its... What is wrong with my mouth today? Okay, so the book is called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. All right? Okay, so that's the book is called. Anyway, I think what's good about the book is it's kind of showing you, like, here's what's wrong. Like, here's the wrong picture. Like, don't do it this way if you want to get the right picture. So I'm going to, like, quiz you guys to see. I know you prepared and stuff, but it's kind of like an online oral quiz here.
Yeah.
Tell us those 5 dysfunctions and a little bit about it so we can get kind of a framework of this really great book. But then also we're going to dig into 2 specific areas later. So first, let's talk 5 dysfunctions. So we'll give it to Eloisa first. You're our guest. You get the first lob at it. You're going to tell us the dysfunction, but Michael has to explain it.
Okay. Before we get into like the nitty-gritty details of it all, like just to kind of have it in our picture, it's more like a pyramid. So actually they all build off one
they're
another.
sequential.
Yes, exactly. So the first dysfunction feeds into the second dysfunction. and then so on. So they actually build off each other. So
We
the
have to
first
answer it
one,
right.
yeah, the first one, and we have to answer in order because they
Yes.
actually the first one feeds
Okay.
into all of the dysfunctions, more or less.
Okay,
That
cool.
makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
So hit us off.
So the first dysfunction is the can I forget
Ah!
Sorry, the absence of trust.
Mm.
And this is foundational because
Yes.
if you can't trust the other people on your team, like just that bare bones foundation of I trust your intentions. I trust that in general, when you say you'll do something, you'll do it. We're all going to fail at points in that, but that in general, that you're a trustworthy person, and that when we're in the midst of being a team, we're having discussions that when you've got your own assignment and I've got my own assignment, that we have a trust with each other. And of course, we've probably all experienced the opposite when
Yeah.
you don't trust someone, and then it's pretty hard to feel unified with that person.
Yeah.
So yeah, trust, absolutely.
Yeah, if I could add on just
Sure.
a little bit, it really is being able to admit your failures, your weaknesses in a team, and know that it's okay. That I don't have to be perfect. That if I fail, my team is gonna help me out.
Yeah. And that vulnerability
Mhm.
builds trust.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and we'll be talking a lot about vulnerability when
Yeah.
we
We are.
dig into
Yeah.
this
We're
a
going to
little
dig
more.
into it actually
Yeah.
a lot more.
Mhm.
So what's the second layer, Michael?
Fear of conflict.
Yeah. So this really is built off that trust. If I have good trust with you guys, let's say we're on a team and I have good trust with you, I'm able to challenge your opinions, challenge your ideas, knowing that I'm not personally attacking you and you're not personally feeling attacked.
Right.
But that, yeah, with greater conflict, we can really figure out what is the Holy Spirit saying in this? How can we seek that subornos, that what is the one thing that we really need to do, but we can't really get there unless we kind of challenge and fight about it a little bit in a healthy way.
Okay. So fear of conflict looks like what on a team?
When you get to that spot where you're saying, somebody says something, you're like, I don't agree with that, but I'm not really going to put my word in there because I fear the consequences of that. I fear the way this person will react. I fear how I'll feel judged. I'll feel, my voice isn't needed here, or I just don't like fighting.
Yeah.
And I just prefer to just gloss this over and whatever. If we do the wrong thing, I would prefer that rather than,
Or do my own thing? I don't
yeah,
care
I'll
what
do my
they're
own thing on
saying.
the side. I have my own side agenda. Like, fine, you do your thing, but I'm going to do what I think is really
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's going back to the absence of trust. I might not have enough trust to bring up my own idea because what if I'm a little self conscious about my idea?
Hmm.
If I don't have that trust, I'm not going to bring it up and therefore not going to enter into conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What's our third step?
Okay. So it is a lack of commitment.
Hmm.
There's probably a number of different ways you can look at it, but from what I understand from what Lencioni writes about it, it's that it's your lack of commitment to what the team is doing, to the decisions the team is making, that if the team's going in one direction, we all need to go together, and that if we don't have that same commitment level, if somebody's going to, everybody's going this way and somebody's going to try to, well, I'm just going to kind of go off on my own direction.
So kind of like what I offered before, like I'll do my own thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I was ahead of the game a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just showing how the second dysfunction, which is the fear of conflict, feeds into the lack of commitment. If we didn't have a good, healthy conflict around a certain idea or a certain direction, I might not be bought into this
The plan.
direction, to the plan, because I didn't necessarily bring up my ideas, or
Yeah.
I'm just not sure because we didn't seek the subornos
Yeah.
in it. And therefore, I'm just not going to be as committed to this direction.
Yeah, you used a word in there that's actually kind of a CCOE word, subornos, right?
yes.
Which isn't really ours. It's from Madonna House, from Catherine Doherty.
Yes.
But subornos, for us anyway, the way we work with it is this unifying sense of the whole team that the Holy Spirit is directing us somewhere. And we can all see and buy into that because we've experienced this time of prayer together.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And seeking subornos in a more practical, like maybe not so prayerful way, really is just being able to trust each other and enter into that dialogue with healthy conflict. And then once we figure out a way, then I can be more bought in. But these dysfunctions show how if we don't have these things in place, then I'm going to be a missionary or a team member or something that might be following a plan, but not really into it.
Yeah. So I'm going to do it half-heartedly.
Yes, exactly.
One of my favorite lines from Lencioni's book is when he says you have to disagree and commit at times, and that I feel like that kind of falls into this as well. That you have to, even if you've taken the right steps, you know you have trust on your team, you've put your idea on the table, and the team decides to go in a different direction than your idea. That's where I think the lack of commitment can come in. That at that point you may disagree with the direction, but if the collective discernment, the collective wisdom is going in a different direction than what you thought, an important step in being a member of the team is you can voice your concerns, voice your opinion, but then when the team says, but we're going to go in direction A and you want a direction B, you disagree, but you also commit to make it work, because what's more important is the team, not your idea, not you being right, not you being able to say afterwards, I told you so.
Yeah.
Huge.
But just being able to say, okay, I'm not certain I'm wholly bought into this, but I've said my piece, and everybody else that I trust and that I've engaged in conflict with has said we're going to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to step in and say, okay, I'll go with this, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make this work, even though it wasn't my first choice of where we're going.
Yeah.
Totally.
But if you didn't get engaged in the conflict before, then it's really hard to do that, because then you're just kind of sitting back and going like, we'll see. You know, like yeah, sure.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, because even like to voice your opinion and then like, fine, you decided it. See how you guys do. Like, I'm not going to help.
Your
Like,
funeral.
no, like he's saying, actually, you need to commit. Like, have the trust, have the conflict, but then you have to commit to the collective decision. And like, yeah, we will see. Like, there's going to be always a postmortem. Like, how did that play out?
Yep.
Is there anything we could do differently? But yeah, wow, that's classics kind of stuff. Hey, it's so raw and real. Okay, so we're at Michael. Oh, do you have more to say about that?
No,
You're
go
good.
ahead.
Okay, let's go to number 4 on our
Number
scale.
4. So avoidance of accountability.
Okay, so basically what happens, again, building off the previous dysfunction, that lack of commitment, is, if I'm not fully bought in, I might not do everything that let's say you were my team leader or you're the leader of this group. I might not do everything because I am just not as bought in. And what happens with avoidance of accountability is that, well, if I don't do something, you might be afraid to challenge me on it or to hold me accountable to a higher standard because I'm not necessarily fully in it. But just to add on to that, just kind of that accountability where I wouldn't necessarily challenge you. Again, if it was the other way around, if you were the team leader and you're not doing something or not living up to the standards of what we had planned, I'm not really going to care. And I'm going to avoid that accountability because accountability is hard. No one likes those crucial conversations, those accountability conversations. And I probably don't even have trust at this point. Therefore, I'm not going to hold you to the standards that we said we would keep because I'm not necessarily bought in as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it was like more the person on the team that's got the bad attitude will avoid being held accountable. And maybe that's true.
Yeah.
But I really intrigued by what you're saying. It's the leader that now will avoid keeping people accountable because everything's awkward.
Yeah. It goes both ways.
It does go both
really.
ways. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we got that one.
Yeah.
We're at the top of our little pyramid.
Okay. Inattention to results is the 5th dysfunction.
Yes. So I think here it's keeping your eye on the prize, essentially. That when we have the inattention to results, that we're focused on, well, what am I doing, or instead of the goal that the team has set out. We have to be looking at, so we've said we're going to reach this target or we're going to make this milestone, and we all work together to get there. And that the focus, yes, it's on how everybody's doing, but the ultimate goal is that we get there. It's not just did I work hard, did I put in enough time, those sorts of things, but actually we're trying to get to a place. And I like in the notes you put a football analogy, which is helpful for me, of the idea of a quarterback. Maybe you want to touch on that.
Yeah. So, again, if I'm not really into the team, as a quarterback of the team, I might just be focused on my own stats. Did I throw enough yards? How many completions did I throw? What did I do as a quarterback? My team could be losing, be down 50 points, But if I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty successful. I like threw that one really amazing throw or did this. That's not the team's not going to win no matter what. Like, I could be the best quarterback out there and be doing an amazing job. But what happens is, as a team, the way we win is if we're all looking at the scoreboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, okay, we're down 50 points. What can we do as a team to make this a game and to win this game?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So results is maybe even uncomfortable for people to do the metrics to measure things,
Yes,
right?
especially in ministry.
Yes,
Especially in
exactly.
ministry.
Mm-hmm.
What have you noticed differently? You've led our training for many years. Like when we started trying to measure, what are we doing? Because we know anecdotally lives are changed all the
Mhm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
But then we started asking deeper questions because we have all these things going for us. And it's like, actually, you should measure your results. Are you actually achieving what you set out to do? And it's like, well, yeah. Well, how well? Are you better than you did it last year? I don't know. We're just doing it. So then we're like, we got to measure, which was uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the result of doing all that?
Well, you start paying attention to, you start realizing what are the right things to do. And then you
Mhm.
start paying closer attention to those things as opposed to just, are we busy? Are we active?
Right.
Did we run the training? I think of like being a campus missionary, and we look at, you could look at your Friday night event and you could say it was a success because 75 people showed up. But then did anything happen in the lives? What was your goal for those 75 people? Was it just that they showed up, or did something happen in their lives?
Mhm.
So then you have to actually ask the question, what was our actual goal here? It's probably not just, a number of people who
What do
showed
we
up.
want to measure?
Yeah, so you have to identify what is the actual win. So even like for our training programs, it's not
Mhm.
just that we run people through our program,
Right.
but what are the actual measurable wins? What are the key takeaways that we have to ensure that each new CCO missionary knows and is
Mhm.
able to perform to be able to meet the standard that we expect?
Mhm.
And that if we know what those things are, then we can actually look and focus our meetings around, are we actually meeting those goals? And we can look at the way we evaluate each of our new staff. Are they meeting those goals? And that you can then take that to your faith study group. And it's not just did everybody show up for each
Mhm.
lesson, but what actually happened in the individual person's life. And then as you meet as faith study leaders, what's happening in the lives of your
Mhm.
people? What are the stories, not just the numbers?
Mhm.
Names and stories. I'd say measure names and stories rather than numbers,
Yeah.
so that you actually are focusing on the person. So those are some examples, but just knowing what is it that we want to accomplish,
Yeah.
and then start measuring the right steps to get to that goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just to kind of bring it back to the football analogy here,
Mhm.
if I may, Angele.
So how many years did you play football?
None, but I did manage a football team in high school.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, but if you're thinking about the coaches on a football team, there's multiple coaches. You have your defensive coach, your offensive coach, your main head coach. Um, you know, if we're all individual people trying to contribute to win, I might think as a defensive coach, okay, like, now I'm forgetting the sports term. What do you call it when you sack the quarterback? Is that wait
A sack.
a sack? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
But I might be as a defensive coach be like, yeah, number one win is to sack the other team's quarterback as many times as possible. Offensive coach say, okay, as many yards as possible, right? So you might be measuring those things, which is great on an individual note. But as a team, that's not the main win.
Right.
I could sack the quarterback as many times as I want, but my team might not win, right? It would help contribute to the win for sure. But that's not the main win. Our main win is to get the touchdowns and to score the points, is to stop the other team from scoring, right? So, anyways, I just think that like with the dysfunctions, we can get into an individual mindset, and that's why these dysfunctions are good to revisit, because we have to think as a team, what is our main goal as a team? What is our win for this semester, for this period, or for this church, or for this parish? What is our win? And we really have to think about it as a whole team and not just individual contributors.
So that adds to the whole team health then.
Yeah.
Because then
yeah.
we know that we've done something. We can celebrate it, and it's important to celebrate.
Yeah.
And then what's our next? How are we going to make this even better next time? There's more capacity to to be satisfied
Yeah.
if you know
Mhm.
that you won, and we figured out how we did win. Right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's the 5 dysfunctions. Okay. Now let's dig into the ones that I think, they're at the bottom that are so fundamental to it. Building trust and a little bit about healthy conflict. So what might you guys say to our listeners, to people who have teams, about just building that trust with your team?
Yeah. First of all, let's define trust because trust could mean differently to other people. Often we think of trust as I've known this person for a really long time, we're friends, therefore there should be a trust. And that's definitely a part of it. But I would say that trust is on like in terms of team health is deeper than that, right? Am I comfortable enough to expose my weaknesses to this team? Am I
Mm.
comfortable enough to be vulnerable with my failures, right? And again, I just use the word vulnerable, but really it's a vulnerable, like a vulnerability based trust is that I am okay not being perfect with this team, but as a team, we're going to work together to win.
And that's a hard place to get to,
Yes, it
especially
really
when
is.
you're new to a team, to be able to
Yeah.
be willing to be vulnerable in front of people that often you respect. Maybe especially if you're a new member, maybe even look up to members of that team. You want to impress. You want to kind of
Mhm.
seem like you got your stuff together. You know what I know what I'm doing. I know how to be a part of this team. I
Yeah.
belong here. And so we um, kind of strut a little bit. Put our back up
Yeah,
straighter and
yeah.
like, yeah, I've got this. I've got this. But really, we all struggle. We all have weaknesses. We all are going to fail. Um, and if we don't kind of get that out to begin with, then the team is already doomed to failure because you're just being fake in
Totally.
front of each other.
Totally. Yeah. And there's it is really hard to achieve, but I think there's ways to really help the vulnerability on your team grow and ultimately the trust on your team grow. And um just even thinking about how do you grow vulnerability, right? Like we all have experiences in our lives that make us who we are. Right? And so, something that I actually get my campus teams to do is before they start on campus in September, so in August, I actually ask them to all together and spend a whole day looking at the dysfunctions, looking at, yeah, just what it means to be a team. And one of the first things I ask our teams to do is actually do like a vulnerability exercise.
Oh, okay. What do you do with them?
Okay, so basically, you go around and you share a childhood story that has had an impact on your life. So, I may talk about the time when I moved to Canada and my mom packed me up lunch, and I'm coming from the Philippines. My mom packed me up a whole fish, head and all. Right, so I'm in grade 1 in Delta, BC, opening up my lunch and with a room full of Canadians, and they see a whole fish in my lunch. And so,
Aw.
like, everyone was kind of disgusted by it, but that definitely has had an impact on my life because now I'm like, I don't want to do anything absurd. I want to like just fit in. And if I share that story with you guys, you kind of have an understanding, okay, there are things in her life that have happened where she is really trying to fit in. And yes, there's the whole emotional, spiritual health of a person that you want to address, but you also kind of have an understanding. If you can't go deep with that person, that
Hmm.
we're not looking for healing, but in a way,
Yeah.
we're looking for a place that, okay, you're understanding where I'm coming from. This is why I might react to the situation in this way. If you share a story, I might be like, I wonder if that like has an effect with why they did that, you know? So like with my story, for example, a team might understand that, yeah, like we're trying to like be an attractive ministry, not just for the sake of being attractive, but because like I'm actually driven by what's happened to me in the past, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So anyways, that I think exercises like that would help.
I was on a team once where the leader was just really astute, and he basically said, "So tell us what you feel is a strength that you're bringing to the team, and the area that you will be weak at,
Mm.
like what we
Mm-hmm.
can anticipate
Mhm.
you're not going to be really great at." And I said, "Well, I'm a finisher, and that's what you can expect. Like I will drive us to end this because I don't like long projects. But I can't remember what I said. I'm not really good at. Do you remember, Michael? You were in the conversation with me. Um,
I can't
What
remember
did
any
I say?
weaknesses, Angele.
What was my what
You
was the
have
thing?
I don't
I've got
remember. Yeah.
too many.
No.
No.
Yeah, no, it's true. I do. I think I might have said just getting lost in the process. Like it's too big to start, and I don't want to start it or go into it because I see how big it get. I'm melancholic, so I see all of the things,
Mhm.
and I get paralyzed. So if you guys start it, I will be there and I will help, and then I'll end up closing probably the project, but you will not get the drive
Right.
out of me. Anyway, I
Mhm.
thought that the question, maybe it would help, people listening, was a really good and relevant one to the teamwork we were doing, because we were like a working team on a particular project and hadn't worked together with everybody on that team. And it was just like, okay, what are you bringing? What are you going to have a hard time with, so that we can anticipate and maybe we can fill in the gaps.
For sure.
So I thought that was a really good experience.
Yeah.
And like you said, so astute by the leader to ask that question, because we all are bringing a weakness. Why don't we just put them on the table?
Yeah.
Which
Totally.
is hard. Like, it's really easy to say that right now. It's very hard to do in that moment. And if there's a lack of trust in that room,
Mhm.
nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to be that vulnerable. But
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
put it out on the table, and then everybody, you see that everybody acknowledges their own weakness. Then also it gets into that place where you aren't being like, do they know that they are not very good at this?
Mm.
And then do I bring this up, or no, they've already said it. I'm going to struggle with this, and I really need your help as a team.
Yeah.
And of course, this is now building the team mentality, right? Of, okay, then together, I'm good at what you're not good at. So let me
Totally.
help you. Let me help you start the project.
Yeah.
So that you can help me with what I'm not good at, which is the finishing part. And then together we can actually get this done.
Mhm.
Totally. Yeah.
Thing about trust. I just think like sometimes hearing why people are passionate or committed to the project or the team or the
Mhm.
work
Yeah.
really helps to build that trust, that you hear their heart of why this matters, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really important. But I want to go into the conflict because I think
Yeah.
that's scarier than sharing your heart, right? That's kind of nice, unless the environment is really crunchy. But let's talk about the healthy conflict. Like just conflict for the sake of conflict is not what I like
Mhm.
at all. Okay, I'm a averse conflict person.
Yeah.
So how do you have healthy conflict?
Ah, it's a good idea. I mean, first of all, like, it's that trust, right? Like, it really is important. Like, I can't stress this enough, but we need to be able to engage in healthy conflict, you need to have a trust like I said earlier, um, so that you don't take things personally when I may challenge an opinion of yours, right? But I think it really is just being able to bring up your own opinions and not feel like um, it's going to get attacked
Right.
or you're attacking someone in it. It really is just kind of speaking your mind in a way, part of it. But there's more to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What
And
would you
the
say?
idea of healthy in that
Mhm.
too, that you're doing it in a way that it's not meant to cut someone down or to
Mhm.
show how much smarter you are than the rest of the group, or I have the best idea, or any of that
Mhm.
um, sort of pridefulness that can step into this. But it's coming to the conversation saying, for the good of the team, I feel like I need to challenge your thinking, or I need to bring up a different idea that goes in a different direction than what everybody else has shared so far. Um, and it's for the good of the team. It's so that we can move forward. And I want to do it in a way that invites
Mhm.
conversation, which, again, I'm also conflict averse. So
Yeah.
like it can be really difficult if you just prefer to keep the peace.
Yeah.
You kind of say, well, I have an idea, but I can't be bothered to start this, what seems like a fight
Yeah.
to me,
I
maybe.
don't have the
Yeah.
energy for this.
But
Yeah.
but actually what the team needs maybe at that moment is to actually fight,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in a healthy way that's built on trust, that's built not on a personal agenda or something like that, but it's all everybody saying we're in this together, which then goes into the other dysfunctions. Like, are we going to the same goal? Like, if we're
Mhm.
all in agreement, we want to get to here, and we know this is where we want to get to, then we can
Yeah.
have a good conflict. Or even that we want to decide what here is, and we all want the same thing, which is to know the right place to go,
Mhm.
that we're willing then to,
Yeah.
and sometimes it really is being willing to engage in is the hardest part for some. Again, especially if you're like us, like conflict averse. It's actually stepping in is the right thing to do in that moment. Whereas maybe if you're more you know, bombastic personality that just kind of enjoys stirring the pot,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you need to learn how to hold back for the healthy sake, focusing
Exactly.
on the healthy conflict, not just the conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah. Entering into conflict doesn't mean I'm just going to constantly challenge everything you're
That's
going to
right.
say, because
Yeah.
that's not going to be healthy.
Healthy.
Yeah.
You're just going to feel challenged by me all the time.
Hmm.
But if I know which battles to pick, and it requires a little bit of emotional intelligence on
Yes, I
your
agree.
part,
Hmm.
right? Like, you need to be able to say, is this the right thing we need to battle about? If it's something small and a small detail, we don't need to fight over that.
Mhm.
Let's just go with a decision. It's not going to make a great impact. But it's about choosing, like, hey, what has a great impact in our ministry or in our whatever, our project, that, okay, we do need to discuss this. Like, as a team leader, I might think, okay, this is not a big deal. Let's just say it, make a decision, go with it. But I might say, with this is going to have huge repercussions in our movement or our mission. Let's enter into this, and it's a practice that I challenge my team leaders to do, is to mind for conflict. Right? Because you might have two conflict adverse people. Let's say I'm the team leader and I
Okay.
have two conflict adverse people
Yeah.
on my team. I bring out an idea and you guys aren't really sure, but you're not really wanting to enter into it. I have to mind for conflict. So I really have to say, but what do you think, Michael? Like, do you have any other opinions? Or like, if you're like, well, no, I think that's okay. I might say, okay, well, then I got to think of other opinions, and maybe also put two options now on the table. And so for you guys to be like, hey, it's on you guys to help weigh out the two options or the two decisions.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
as if you're a leader of your mission or whatever it is, you really have to be ready to kind of challenge yourself so that your team can get involved in making the best decision.
Okay, why do we have to do it anyway? Like, what?
Yes.
Like, why bother? Like, if it's like it's fine, like the decision's fine. Like, why can't we just have a fine meeting? Like, why is it important as a coach of team leaders that you're saying, like, actually mind for the conflict, like not conflict for the sake of conflict, but why do you
Yes.
want them to mind?
Again, it's to make sure that everyone is bought in,
Okay.
right? If I'm leading a meeting and you guys are like, yeah, I'm okay with it, I'm not really sure you're into it.
Okay.
Right? Unless I know that, okay, we've explored other things, we've gone, like, okay, there's maybe other possibilities, but no, I think I want to go in that direction. I want to go with this plan. Then I know that my whole team is on board. And I'm not just the quarterback that's just shouting plays and you're like running, and
Right.
like, I know that you know exactly what the play is, and that's the best way to do it. Going back to the football analogy there.
You are so football-y. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm totally an athlete.
Yeah, I love that. No, I appreciate that. I mean, like, to be asked, like, do you have anything more to say about that? Are you cool with this? Like, is there do you have any misgivings about it or something like that?
Mhm.
I'd feel respected, because it would build my trust, because being a quieter, detailed person, I'm like, okay, she knows that I'm seeing all the details right now in my head, and why am I not talking? If I'm like, no, I'm looking at all the details. I think this is solid.
So I think you're touching on something, which is personality, which is really important when it comes to trust and conflict.
Okay.
Because you just mentioned that you're a detailed person, and earlier you said that as a melancholic. So
Mhm.
these are things that we throw around in CCO. We
Yeah,
kind of
true.
assume and know what that means, but really they're just personality styles.
And that's the temperaments in
Yes,
particular, the
exactly.
temperament
Yeah.
kind of.
We often use the temperaments because it's simple and there's only 4, so you don't have to memorize all of them.
Yeah, it's
A
easy.
million other ones. But I think when we talk about conflict, we know if that as a choleric person, which is what I am, I'm more comfortable with conflict. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to go there, I'm willing to do that. But if I'm leading a team of, let's say, phlegmatics, they're like, part of that personality is to be conflict averse. So I want to mind for conflict carefully.
Right.
Right? I want to work with that personality, make sure that they're going to be comfortable enough to work and
Voice their
voice
opinion.
their
Yeah.
opinions, and kind of work with the personalities. Each person kind of requires a different leadership, but I think knowing the personalities and the temperaments in a basic sense will really help someone know how to mine for conflict with a specific temperament. But it also goes back to trust, right? When I talk about trust is based on vulnerability to know and be okay with my weaknesses and all that. If you know that I'm a choleric sanguine, you know that details are not going to be my thing. And it's just my personality. You know that I'm going to struggle with patience, right? Or that I'm going to get distracted really easily. Hey, look
Right.
over there. No, sorry. But it's like you're going to know those weaknesses of mine, and not to pick on those weaknesses,
Yeah.
but you know that for you guys, like you're phlegmatic, you're melancholic, I think, right? You're going to know you're going to have to step up your detail game
Yeah.
to help me out. Or do you know what I mean? So there's personalities are really important to know on a team, to know how to be able to work together.
See, and I can do conflict if it's healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if we do it in a healthy way, Michael and I have worked together for years, right? So
Yeah.
like we know how to like banter an idea back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And there's no hiding our opinions because we've just that trust is so deep. So our conflict is healthy and it doesn't get weird. But when conflict is just conflict to like wrestle out a thing, like I'll just stop.
Totally.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Or cry. I don't know what I'll do, but there's that ability to have the healthy conflict that we know when we're back and bopping something around back and forth, we know we're both working to the same goal, that we want to get the best thing that we're trying to win for.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how it's worked over the years.
Yeah.
So it's made it very easy for us to have honest conversations because we know where we are going and that we're just trying to find a win the best way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that for you guys, you've worked together for a really long time. If you're in a newer team situation, you're still trying to work to get to a place to be like where you guys are at. I would say celebrate every healthy conflict you
Right.
have.
Mhm.
That's
Okay.
something that my coworker Joe and I just had to do. We wrestled with an idea, trying to we went back and forth. I didn't like it. He didn't like it. We kind of had different visions, but then at the end we were like, "This is an amazing idea." We came to a conclusion of what would be best, and we celebrated the fact that we kind of fought with each other because we got a better idea than either of us had. And so, anyways, celebrate it because then you know that you're winning as a team, that you're getting to a place of having healthy conflict. And it also just makes conflict a little easier when you know that you can celebrate the outcome of it.
Yeah, we fought through that. Not we fought each other.
Yes.
We fought through
Yeah.
that.
Or
Exactly.
fought for it.
Fought
even.
for it,
We
yeah.
fought for something together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, let's land our podcast there. That's awesome. So this was looking at healthy teams, how important they are to accomplishing your mission, to want to go to work
Yeah.
with those people, not avoidance. And avoidance is like, okay, my go-to when I don't feel comfortable. And Patrick Lencioni's book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, is really helpful to paint the picture. And if you can't start with anything, start with building trust. Start building trust and then working towards having conflict that's healthy and that creates the best solution for your team and for your mission. So I hope this podcast has helped you, and take care.